What's up, everybody? Birds deep. It's that time of the week. You know what it is. And Championship Sunday is upon us. The Eagles did advance to the NFC Championship game, which is very exciting. Very, very exciting. People are happy. You know, Saquon went off. Defense looked great. Everything. It was a little nervous at the end, but Jalen Carter is a dog, and he did what he had to do. So that was a kind of ugly game, but we'll get into our grades, make our predictions for next week. Do the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl? Talk about their surprise opponent, because we definitely thought last week they'd be playing the Lions if they won, and they are playing the Commanders, which I'm pretty sure nobody had on their bingo card. And so we'll break that down because, hey, why not, right? We'll see how the Eagles match up. And there's been a lot of trash talk from the Washington fans just coming out of nowhere, like, ancient relics. Because
I don't know. Tell me.
I've been hearing it on the radio. I'm like, wow, where are these guys coming from? Like, I didn't even know they existed anymore. Cool. You live closer to the Commanders country. Have you been hearing a little bit of trash talk down there in your parts?
Bruh, I know so many Commanders fans that they was talking trash last year when they had like 4 wins, bro. I always hear Commanders trash talk, but that's okay. I'm built for
it. What do they say? Rain, sleet, or snow? The Eagles prepared to go.
Maybe is that their thing?
That's what Jalen said after the game when he was perked up out of his mind. There was no way that wasn't on Percocets after the game. He was fired up. He's smiling. So when I played Madden when I was a kid, I would turn the snow up to 99. I'm like, God damn, they gave him some happy sauce.
Now, you know what they gave him? They gave him that Patty Mayo Super Bowl against us drugs. They gave him that.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not the first person to have said that. It's oddly enough, right before I was here, I was talking to a guy about Eagles, and he said the same thing you did in different words. He's like, he was definitely on something. I'm like, all right, well, hey, man, I guess they give him a happy pill. Do they do that on the sideline? I guess they'll give you, maybe you get a shot or something like that. But like,
that man has no type of ability to handle any type of medication. One of those two.
No.
You tell me they gave him a little bit of smelling salts and he went full bore on it. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like this will be we'll have some repeat subjects from next week. I think people are panicking. The team is what they are. I don't think there's any reason to be scared. I think there's a reason to be confident. I heard a lot of chatter saying like, well, the Eagles wouldn't have won if they didn't get those turnovers and had those 2 big runs, which is hilarious because I'm like, well, if my grandmother had balls, she'd be my grandfather. So I don't, it's like you can't just strip those plays out because
exactly. If the Rams had scored more points than us, the Eagles wouldn't have won. That's the kind of crap they're talking.
Yeah, I just, I heard Sean McVay was crying. Your tears are delicious. So,
if you take out the scoreboard and about 5 scoring plays, the game was,
really close.
The game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Micah. Appreciate the
yes.
By the way, I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and to my right, I got my man Cool McCain. Eagles Elite. My guy is here. Play caller. EAGLES Eagles. I'm kidding. The mayor. I think did Godfrey just leave us?
I think he did.
EAGLES Eagles. Just trying to help the mayor. I'm just trying to help the mayor.
Help him out. Yeah, today.
Say EGLESES or something.
She said
butchered it.
ELGES Eagles.
Butchered it.
But
butchered it.
Let's get fired up, baby. Let's get rolling. I'm ready to rock and roll.
I've been fired up since Sunday.
So shall we dive into the grades first?
Yes,
let's see. Let's go. Let's start off with a pot. Let's go defense. Defense first.
Bro, to be able to play defense in that situation with that weather, the way everything was situated. And listen, I'm glad that the Rams didn't catch on earlier, that the Eagles corners were having a tough time breaking, and that hurry up offense gave us some issues down the stretch. But call it like it is. The defense played an A game again. Turnovers were the key. You know, Matt Stafford fumbled the ball. Kyron Williams got the ball punched out. Huge football game for the Eagles defense. I'll give him a flat A. I love Jalen Carter. He was a dog. He showed up. Give him all the credit in the world. Quinyon Mitchell gets hurt. Isaiah Rodgers comes in, picks up a fumble, brings it down to the 6-yard line. Give Isaiah Rodgers credit for hopping in. And look, I'll say this now. I was very, very critical. Very, very critical of a linebacker that had to fill in for Nakobe Dean. But you, sir, you've earned your stripes. You have earned your stripes. My man played a great football game, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, you better ask somebody, because the Philadelphia Eagles had a linebacker step in by the name of Oren Burks. Absolutely killed it. 2 huge plays in that football game, 2 big TFLs. And one of the biggest plays Oren Burks made was something that you didn't really see until you watched film on it. There was a perfectly called screen pass that the Rams had everybody downfield. It was going to be a terrible play for the Eagles. And Oren Burks, with the perfect gap play, got through, shed a lineman, and took down Kyron Williams. That was one of the plays of the game.
Yeah, that defense is going to get an A from me. Jalen Carter's a dog. That play where, you know, he punched the ball out after that safety. Because I know everybody was a little tight after that. I'm pretty sure. So,
well, I was.
Yeah.
I'm right next to my friend watching the game. I said, they're going to lose this football game.
Yeah,
I'm a negative Nancy watching the Eagles, bro. I'm so like, I'm the guy. You ever see the thing where it's like, oh, great, all week, my favorite team's about to play. And then this sucks the whole game. And then, oh, great, we won. A little small sliver. That's me. That's me watching Eagles football.
But to be fair, the Philadelphia Eagles back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s did this to you, to be fair.
You're right.
That's 100% true. The whole Buddy Ryan era was never win a playoff game. Remember that? As great as those defenses were, he never won a playoff game. Buddy Ryan did when he was here. So that was my first introduction to football. And I remember those factories of sadness that were the postseason with the Buddy Ryan era, year after year after year after year. So, and having some all-time great defenses, one of the best defensive ends of all time. So that definitely has built that into us. Also, losing 4 NFC NFC championship games they lost at home under the Andy Reid era also does that to you as well. That you know, being favorites
in the Super Bowl in the 80s.
Yeah. It was, you know, crazy. But, yeah, they get an A. I mean, there was a lot of play. You know, they were able to do that. Quinyon got hurt early. He was out, you know.
I felt you, Brett.
Yeah.
I want to share this with you, Raj, real quick. This is my Eagles watching experience. I mean this shit, too. This is literally the way I watch a game. This is exactly the way I feel. Oh, boy, I'm excited to watch my favorite team play. And then the big gap while they're playing, this is so stressful. And then there's a small gap at the end where I'm like, nice, we won. That's me watching the football game.
Well, like I said in a wire-to-wire chat, Jake Elliott sums up what it's like to be an Eagles fan. Make a field goal through the snow, miss the extra point. You know what I mean? You're like, what the fuck? You know, it's like, and you're in your head, you're like, is this extra point going to really come back and bite us in the ass? Right? Like, because you're thinking he missed 2 extra points, right?
2 extra points, yes.
Yeah.
And then he made a 48-yard field goal in the snow.
Yeah, you're like, what? Yeah, you're in your head, you're like, he's going to make this because it makes sense.
Time that you're watching the field goal be kicked, that he's kicking the ball, that hiking, that you know the field goal is coming. I don't care how much of an optimist you are scared.
I try to look away from extra points. I legitimately try to look away.
Yeah, I don't, you know, we don't expect that from him, you know. But kickers to me are like relief pitchers in baseball. Even your best ones. Look at Justin Tucker this year. They just, if they're off, and the season's trashed almost. And you're not getting back till maybe next year. The kickers scare me because they're just like, it's rare that they're consistent all the way through their career. You find a handful of kickers that are like that. So Yeah, Jake Elliott. I don't need anxiety from Jake Elliott. That should be like the least of my worries. But yeah, man, that's what it's like being an Eagles fan. But you know what? I still love it. We're still here. We're still to talk about it. Cool. What do you say about the D? I don't think you gave your grade yet.
A+. I'm gonna give him an A+. You don't have Nakobe Dean, who's the quarterback of the defense, right? Oren Burks and also Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I felt like did a very good job rotating, filling in for him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Burks made some big plays, and you expect that more from the veteran guy, but Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was not out there getting ate up or destroyed. He was still playing solid as well. I also, of course, want to shout out my man, Zach Bond, because not only is he controlling what he normally does, he's also calling plays for the defense now. So you've added another skill, and my man's still getting the job done. A skill that he hadn't been doing up until Nakobe Dean got hurt. So shout out to him for that as well. Of course, Isaiah Rodgers stepping in for Quinyon. Isaiah Rodgers should be starting beside Quinyon next year moving forward. I'm going to put that out there.
Look, I'm gonna give
he did. I mean, I think Isaiah makes good plays and all that. Definitely knows to pick up that fumble. You know, there were a couple plays where I wish he would have been able to get bigger on, like that DeMarcus Robinson reception. DeMarcus just kind of toughed it from him.
Think about repetitions too. We can't judge a guy who's coming off the bench cold that doesn't play with the ones like you do somebody that plays with the ones all week and practices with the ones.
Yeah, Kaylee Ringo was in there too, and I felt like from what we saw of him, I'm okay with our depth. I think we have a lot of depth.
Yeah, Ringo's
at that position.
The best corner on the field for the Eagles on Sunday was Cooper DeJean. My man made every play. He was the best corner on the field Sunday, and then followed by Darius Slay. Darius Slay had a great game.
When Quinyon Mitchell's not there, it better be Cooper DeJean. Better be who you say is the best corner. We got a problem.
Yeah,
Cooper DeJean played a hell of a football game. His tackle was great. His red zone defense was great. He was awesome. I was super happy with him.
Everything he did, we did it all.
Now, let's go to the offense. Gene.
Man, where are we going?
Gene, start us off.
Play calling, and see, I don't know, man, because there's so many bad play calls in this football game. Why you have your quarterback drop back the series after he hurts his knee in the end zone is just, I don't know if I blame Jalen on that or I blame Kellen. Kellen took blame for it during the week, so I'm just going to I'll blame it on Kellen. I'll blame it on the coach.
Because you just, like you said,
should be Kellen.
Jalen had just took his perk, so he's still getting his mind right. He just took his perk.
Even if he did take a perk, they still shouldn't have did that call.
And they made the worst play call, maybe in the history of football for a game that worked out in their favor. Like the Marshawn Lynch thing didn't work out for their favor. The Philadelphia Eagles ran a naked bootleg to the quarterback's bad knee side, his non-throwing side, on 2nd and 6. 6 yards to win the game. They lose 11 yards on a naked bootleg. Like, what the? I seen what the play was. It was supposed to be a tight end screen. He was supposed to roll out, allow the defensive end to roll, pass the ball to the tight end, and hope to get the 6 yards. That was the goal of the play. You don't need to do that, man. You have a running back that got 200 yards. You have the best offensive line in football. I don't know what to tell you. You have to run the football. I run up in goal line. Put Saquon under center, run the damn tush push 3 more times. I don't care. Don't run a naked bootleg with Jalen Hurts. That bothered me so much. So I'll give the play calling a C-. The offensive play calling a C-.
I'll give it a C. All the stuff Gene said. But at the same time, they did do enough to win the game. So I'll give them a C. They were average at least. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I'll give them I'll give them a C. I mean, there's some things I didn't like. I mean, I felt like weather played a part of it too. But I mean, still I wasn't unhappy with their approach to the run game. I mean, there was a lot of results we were getting there, and I expected it to be run heavy, especially with the way they could. And listen, the knee thing did change it a little bit because I said last week they will not be able to do what they did to Sam Darnold. And as soon as they tried it, what did Jalen do? Took it to the house. Gone, 67 yards. And they were caught cheating to the one side. They went big. Then the guys and on the side that Jalen went, I'm sorry, no, that might have been the Saquon part. Anyway, they caught him cheating to the one side big, and then they got blocked and just blown off the line by the guards.
Oh, you're talking about the Jalen Hurts touchdown. That's what
yeah.
you're talking about.
They blew him right off the line, and they got caught with their pants down.
They had 2 linebackers on the right side, and they had all 3 of their defensive linemen on the right side, the side that Saquon would be running towards. Jalen flipped the play, called a check, and basically had Saquon run into the line, ran the read option, and that offensive line absolutely brutalized them. Mekhi Becton just shoved the linebacker
shoved him to the ground. Yeah.
And then Jordan Mailata, who was the pulling tackle, he had no one to block. He was downfield like, oh shit, the play's still going on? Like, what's going on here? When Jalen Hurts is running by him for the touchdown. It was perfect check by Jalen. But that's not the play calling. That's Jalen play calling.
Yeah.
So I can't give them credit for that.
And I can't give them credit for the touchdown from Saquon that was ran pretty much to that same side, because that was another check down by Jalen. He checked into that play.
Yeah.
Two of the big plays of the game had nothing to do with the actual.
I feel like the weather changed it though, and then Jalen get knee getting hurt.
Did they not know it was going to snow?
They knew it was going to snow, but I mean,
I can't give them that, Godfrey. I can't give them that. They get nothing for that. You don't get no grace for what you knew was coming, and the other team had to do the same thing.
Yeah, listen, they're getting a C from me, so they're not getting credit for being good. I'm just saying, I don't know how much of that was a mix of like, well, they had an idea here and it wouldn't work because, this is the weather, and then my quarterback's knee was hurt, and then but although with a hurt knee, they said, hey, let's call let's get a safety and drop back, in the end zone. So I guess there's no logic there either, right? So I mean, yeah, I wasn't really happy with what they were showing overall. That I was not impressed with the play calling. I think Jalen and Saquon did what they had to do. I really don't have any problem with them, So now that brings us to. So I'll give them a C as well. That brings us to Jalen Hurts. What are our grades for Jalen? Cool. I'll let you start off on this one.
Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna give Jalen Hurts a B. The reason I'm gonna give him a B is he didn't turn the ball over. He did finish the game perked up, hurt. There were some balls that were dropped, but we can't blame Jalen Hurts for drops, right? I don't think there was anyone that I can remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, where it was just a really horrible throw from him. There's a couple where it could have been placed a little bit better, but he still did the job. We relied a lot on the ground game, so he did what was asked of him. He went out there and played the game that was asked of him. Statistical wise, everybody wants the statistics. Well, I was listening to the radio today, and I was listening to ESPN, and they played a clip. I think it was, I forgot who it was that made the clip. But they were basically saying the problem is everybody wants to hold Jalen Hurts to the same level that you hold certain other quarterbacks to. The goal of the game is to win. Does Jalen Hurts win? The answer to that question is he does win. So if he's winning games, while I may not be elated with how the sexiness of the wins, I would take ugly wins over sexy losses 1,000% of the time.
Well, especially in the playoffs.
I'm gonna give him a B. Well, you got to win the regular season to get to the playoffs, so I'm gonna give him a B. And the check downs, let me throw that in there as well, into the big plays. So I'm gonna give him a B.
What say you, Gene?
I'll give him a C minus.
Okay.
Cool just say he didn't turn the ball over, but I don't know what a safety is. That's a turnover to me. It might not be a fumble or interception, but you get sacked in the end zone, you got to punt the ball to the other team and they get points. That's a turnover to me. Second, he got sacked. He got sacked 7 times. 7 times. We talk about he only threw the ball 20 times. He dropped back 27, probably more because he probably ran the ball a couple times, scrambled out of it. So they called 30 run plays, 30 pass plays. He got sacked 7 times. He had a QBR of 49.5. Like, I'm not. That's.
Do you think that was a function of how much of that was a function of play calling, play scheme, and or him holding onto the ball too long? Which
him
one?
Holding onto the ball. It's 100% him. The pass he threw behind AJ Brown was just dreadful. Now, granted, I don't think there's anything he can deep throws a perfect ball to AJ Brown for a touchdown.
He should have
That play, that play should be a touchdown. That adds 30, 40 yards to his total and a touchdown. The tush push, that's not his fault. Lane Johnson jumped off sides. It's not. He ran in a touchdown, so I got to give him a positive grade for that. But I can't give him more than a C-. I can't. You took 7 sacks. The offense looked anemic. And listen, I'll say this. I don't say this in ways of the scoreboard, but I'll say this. You take away those 3 big touchdown plays, that offense was awful. Awful. So for 50 plays of the game, they were terrible. And for 3, they were good.
Yeah.
Josh didn't play great either, though. But they won. So we're here.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, it's kind of tough because, like I said, there's a lot of factors going into that. That throw to AJ was awful.
The throw to AJ for the touchdown was perfect.
That was perfect. But that wasn't his fault.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Talking about the in route that AJ ran it in. It looked like he thought AJ was going to run it out.
Right. I mean,
could have been miscommunication though.
The miscommunication, I can't really it's terrible. That's just a misread. They just didn't read on the same page. So I can't really.
We don't know. We really don't know. Right?
And then, so we talk about this all the time on Eagles League. They're not scheming guys open. They're just saying go out there and figure out a way to get open.
Yeah.
Right. They're not scheming guys open. We need to scheme guys open. That's what you do in the NFL. You run plays where you're running picks and doing things like that. We're not doing that.
See, that's the problem I had with the play calling, right? Like I felt like, and they actually did this toward the end of the game on a couple. I didn't see enough quick slants to AJ Brown over the middle. I didn't see enough scheming Devontae Smith.
You didn't see any.
They're trying to jump that. You're trying to jump that quick slant. I'll be honest with you. If Dallas Goedert doesn't chip, whoever that linebacker was for the Rams, that on that 4th down to AJ Brown, where we basically got a gift because that was delay of game. We were at 0, and then they threw the 4th down slant to AJ Brown. That was the only slant I've seen in the game. I actually think the Rams jumped that play if Dallas Goedert doesn't chip that linebacker. It was an offensive. It probably wasn't an offensive PI, but it was a very, very intelligent chip.
Yeah, I mean, I still think if they're sitting on that route, then you know that, and you wait for it when the opportunity presents themselves, when the coverage shows you that you can get away with it. I still don't see enough of that schemed into the game plan, especially since that's something AJ Brown's known for, taking a slant to the house, right? Like I don't see them putting, Devontae Smith in a position where you see Jalen roll out and throw it to him and you're scheming him open.
Yeah, you're not
I don't
scheming
see that
guys
enough.
open, not running picks with other guys. You're doing nothing. You're just throwing the guy the ball and saying, you make a play. And if you don't, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with a B- on Jalen. That's where I'm at on him. I'm not as low as a C, but I'm slightly above it. I think we're gonna go into this game next week, and I just have a sneaking suspicion it's gonna be a little bit more different than we suspected, in a good way though. So, the coaches have to be more inventive. I do agree there. However, I think there's a give and take there. There's the player and there's the coach. Like, who gets the most responsibility? You know what I mean? And with Jalen getting hurt, I don't know, man. Let's ask. I mean, how concerned are you guys concerned about his knee? What's your concern level about this? Is it something that's just a blip maintenance thing?
As a knee injury, you should be concerned.
Okay. Do you think it's concerning to the point where he will not have the ability to take off if he needs to take off?
No, they'll drug him up. I'm not worried. They'll drug him up.
Okay. What do you think?
I'm not concerned. I'm concerned with the knee injury, of course, just like Cool said, but I'm not concerned with him playing in the football game. I am almost sure, I'm not saying he won't play, but I'm almost sure that he has bursitis in his knee. It's called something like a pocket, whatever it's called, the injury that it's listed as. I think that's what Jalen has. They're not gonna list exactly what the injury is. They don't want people to know, but that's a pain tolerance thing. And when they shoot him up, get the patty shot. So he said it.
Yeah.
Yep.
They said he's a full participant today. They said so. Some people said he was spotted. And then they saw him in the walkthrough, but they said he's a full participant today. So
they only did
walkthroughs yesterday. So everybody's like, "Oh, you only did what the whole team did walkthroughs yesterday."
Yeah.
No, they got video of him dropping back in play action today. They got video of him working on his footwork. His knees are moving back and forth. He'll play. He's almost fine.
Yeah. Now on the Commanders end, which I think they're going to play, Deron Payne, knee finger, and linebacker Bobby Wagner missed practice for a second straight day. But he missed practices last week before playing against Detroit, and Payne was limited practice during that week. So
they're all playing, bro.
Yeah, it's all chips on the table.
Yeah. Anybody that can play will play. Britton Covey may be back too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, Cooper DeJean dropping that punt, you know that they want so badly to be able to have Britton Covey returning the punts. That's what they want.
Yeah, for sure. This is an interesting game. It's a third time. It's rare you get to play a team 3 times, and the third time being the NFC Championship.
It's really the second, but I digress.
So, yeah. Well, listen, does Lady Luck run out for these Commanders? I mean, they've earned their way here. They beat the Lions. I kind of questioned the Lions' play strategy toward the end. Ben Johnson, I don't think that's another discussion for sideline to sideline, but you could run on the Commanders. That is a proven fact. Before Jalen got the concussion from the headhunter, was that Frankie Louvu?
Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, so I'm concerned about them.
You heard their defensive coordinator today, right? You heard that, right?
I didn't hear that.
Cool. Did you hear their defensive coordinator today?
I heard what the defensive coordinator said. I also heard what Jaden Daniels said.
I'll tell you right now, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, Joe Witt Jr. went in the press conference today and said, if they want to call design runs, we're going to treat him like a running back. And if they don't want him to get hit like a running back, then they better not call design runs. That's what Joe Witt said about Jalen Hurts today. And if I'm the Eagles defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, I am showing that video to Jalen Carter. I'm showing that video to Milton Williams. I'm showing that video to Oren Burks. I'm showing that video to, Zach Ball.
If that's what we're doing, then that's what we're doing.
If y'all want to take dirty shots at our quarterback, which I'm telling you, Frankie Louvu nose dove onto our quarterback's head. You don't say a word in the press all week. You don't say a word about it. You don't mention it. And I'm telling you right now, the first time you get a shot, I'll take the 15. I'll take the 15. The first time you get a shot, you absolutely dig your helmet into this kid's ribs. This kid had rib injury earlier in the year. I'm telling you right now, all's fair. All is fair in love, war, and NFC championship games.
So I think the Eagles are coming into this like they owe them one. And the reason why they feel that way
was come out the other day after the game talking about we're going to make the main thing the main thing. All right, you want to mock our boy? We got you.
Yeah.
You want to make it more than just a game? You want to make it nasty?
So this is what concerns me, though. They're playing with house money, and they want to get people off their game. They want to get a CJ ejected. They want to do that kind of stuff. That's going to be the only way they're going to have a shot, in my opinion, where they can make the common denominator closer, right? And I feel like when I look at the Eagles versus them, the Eagles are going to out-talent them. Now, I know they didn't have Allen last time they played us, okay, where they played the Eagles, and we lost our quarterback. They barely won, and I feel like the Eagles really, really feel like they owe them one from that because that was a game that they let slip away, even with the backup quarterback in. But the way that game started out, they were going to get boat raced. It was like 14-0. They talk about how they stopped Saquon in the second half. He was killing them from the door. I also believe if Jalen's get hurt that game, Saquon breaks the record because he's going to be that much closer with that game going the way it was going. But that's neither here nor there. But when I look at that team, they lost their guard. Corsi, I might be saying his name wrong. That's a big loss for them. Now, our O-line versus their D-line, I'm giving it to my O-line. Their D-line versus, our D-line versus their O-line without their guard, that's an important piece. Jalen Carter is going to be tough. Now, they're going to double him, but that's going to be up to these other guys to be playing well and take advantage of that when they do. But even still, you don't think they tried to double Jalen Carter last week? Like, that's going to happen with him. And if you're putting up a backup guard in there, good luck with that. So that's advantage Eagles, I think, all day long. he's playing out of his mind right now. His football IQ is off the charts. It's ridiculous, and I'm here for it. I mean, he's a game wrecker, and he's becoming more of a game wrecker every game. And that's probably one of my favorite player to watch on the Eagles right now. I just like Jalen Carter is just ridiculous. So I feel like the Commanders, they lost to us. And another thing is, correct me if I'm wrong here. The Eagles defense, we're not a huge blitzing defense, right? Like it's not really the bread and butter of Fangio.
So first of all, I'm going to break this down for you just like I broke it down wire to wire last night. I'll make it very easy for you. This is a totally different defense that the Commanders are going to face versus the Philadelphia Eagles. What the Commanders did last week versus the Lions was rinse and repeat. They ran the same formation, the same play, the same. Listen, you're going to see the breakdown on NFL films all week. They're going to be, this is what they did. I already watched it. I can tell you exactly what they did. 3 wide sets. They ran 3-by-1s, 3 on one side, 1 on the other. And if the Lions were playing man, they put 3 guys out there versus the 3 wide receivers on the outside. And all the Commanders did was they played numbers. They had 7 guys at the line of scrimmage and 6 guys in the box. So they just basically ran read option. If you're going to commit to the running back, well, Jaden Daniels is going to run. If you're going to commit to the quarterback, we're going to hand it to Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. And then when the Lions said, we're just going to blitz, we're just going to zone blitz, they ran the RPO, the bubble screen. That's the big play you've seen with Terry McLaurin, where they only have 1 guy on the outside. You can't play that. In order to beat the Commanders, you have to play man defense, and your front 6 has to be able to stop the run. It's a totally different story with Philadelphia because our line of scrimmage isn't a bunch of IR guys. Our line of scrimmage with Carter, Williams, Jordan Davis, they can stop the run without adding extra pieces to the middle. They do not need to blitz to do it. You've seen that in Philadelphia, and you've seen that before. And look, you can go back to that Commanders game. They're like, oh, Jaden Daniels had 5 touchdown passes. What you don't remember is C.J. Gardner-Johnson got thrown out of the game. 2 of those touchdown passes were on a backup safety. 1 of those touchdown passes was because Slay was hurt, and they had a substitution issue, and a guy was running down the sideline by himself on the right side.
Zacchaeus was a broken play, too. Zacchaeus, that Zacchaeus play was a broken play.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was the fluke.
So you don't need to overly concern yourself with the Commanders' offense just going wild on you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I have confidence in Vic Fangio when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's on the field. And then last but not least, this is the one thing I really wanted to bring up, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I seen the official crew for this game. Did you guys see the officials officiating this football game? This is bad news for Washington. Washington has had this official crew 4 times in a 17-game season. 50% of their offensive holding calls have been with this crew. This crew calls more offensive holdings than any crew in football. The Eagles seen this crew 4 times. They're 4-0, and they have a net negative offensive holding calls with this crew. Better offensive line does not hold as often. Jeff Stoutland gets these guys prepared for this. I know this. Sean Hockley, that's correct. I know this. I guarantee this Eagles offense knows this. And you can't stop Jalen Carter without holding him. Be prepared to see a play by the Commanders come back, holding, offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat, first down.
Or a second down, third down, but repeating downs.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the Eagles aren't going to approach. They talk about Jalen Daniels to be good against the blitz, and that's true. He has been. But the Eagles aren't going to run they're not blitzing because they have to blitz because they were bankrupt at Detroit. They had lost a lot of defensive players. I didn't like their game plan for him. I thought it was stupid, and they burned him on it. But that's not going to happen with the Eagles. It's definitely not. I feel like he's going to get more disguised looks from this Vic Fangio defense, and this is going to be a harder assignment for Jaden Daniels to pull off than in some of these other instances where they've been winning these games. You can out-athlete everyone, and I felt like watching that Bucs game, he just made some plays, and he was just a better athlete than some of those guys, and that's fine. But this is the type of defense where if you're going to pass, it's not going to be as sweet as it was last time. I mean, CJ GJ being out, and, having a backup quarterback in, passes that were dropped. There was even a Saquon pass in that game that he catches most of the time. That would have been a first down. There's just so many things went right from this year. I feel like Lady Luck is going to run out. Do I sound like a homer saying that? Yeah. But, history is on our side. There's never been a team that's won 4 road games in a row on their way to the Super Bowl. And there's never been a rookie quarterback who has taken their team to the Super Bowl ever. So there's a reason for that. It's hard to do, right? And if it happens, I'll congratulate them. But the Eagles were going to steamroll them last time in their own house. I do not see that happening this time. This is going to be all hands on deck. And they're going to run the ball on them. When you look at the defense, the Eagles defense is a top-ranked defense. I believe the defense for the Commanders is ranked 18th, if the last time I checked, which is very different than most of the playoff teams that were in there. So, listen, the rankings entail the whole season, and a lot of teams were injured as the season went on, including the Lions. So we'll see. I never dreamed that we'd be talking about this. I thought they'd be going to Detroit. I mean, I was blown away. I'm watching this. I'm like, wow, they're going to win this game. And I couldn't. I just blows my mind the Commanders won. Part of me thinks like, hey, they just got luck on their side. But,
you can't. It's got to stop saying that shit, bro. I said that shit, and that shit went viral on TikTok, and I was dead wrong. The Commanders outplayed Detroit. They're not lucky, bro.
No,
I mean Detroit. They outplayed them.
I'm not talking.
Lady Luck on their side. They beat the.
Well, let me finish my point. I'm not saying that they were lucky to beat Detroit. I'm talking about when I looked through their whole season, they had a lot of lucky instances. The Hail Mary, the Devontae Smith drop. That's just to name 2 of them. I think a lot of
dirty play on Jalen Hurts. They got nothing.
The dirty play on Jalen. I wasn't going to count that, but I like where you're going with that. Cool. Let's count that too. The dirty play on Jalen Hurts. There's other instances too. They did beat the Lions. I'm not saying they didn't beat them. They beat them fair and square, and they whooped them in their own house. But their season has been a charmed season, and I kind of feel that way.
The last 3 games when they absolutely beat the last 3 teams without any luck whatsoever.
Yeah, no, they beat the Buccaneers. I'm not so impressed with that because the Buccaneers are an inconsistent team. They showed it all year long. One week they'll beat a really good team, and the next week they'll lose to a Cowboys team that had nothing to play for with a lame duck coach.
You know what I want to say? What I think is real crazy is a lot of people now are like, oh man, Detroit, they were down 16. I'm not talking about you guys. A lot of people, Detroit, they were down 16 people, and all these people on IR and stuff. Those people didn't just go on IR before that game.
Sure.
Right? Those people have been on IR for a while. What happened was you went up against a team that actually game planned for you. You went up against a team that said, if you're going to beat us, we're going to force you to do things that you don't really want to do. And they were not able to do that with what they had. Other people had the same opportunity to say, these guys are missing people. We're going to go in here. We're going to execute a game plan that's going to make them play and be uncomfortable in what they do. But no one else was able to do it and make it work. But they weren't.
And they're not playing scared either. That you could say about them. They're not playing scared.
And you could take it for what it's worth. You can say, oh, you just whatever, cool. But when both of your coordinators are really already out the door, which we saw how fast they got hired this week, we know from the Super Bowl, when your coordinator is already 1.5 feet out the door, things don't look as well as they do when that guy's, at least for the moment, dedicated to still being there.
How do you guys feel about that? Because Cliff Kingsbury hasn't really he's done interviews, but I feel like, they didn't really ramp up their interviews, though, until, after they lost, though, right? I felt like we're doing, Zoom interviews and things of that nature.
Oh, bro.
Aaron Glenn met, was it the week of?
Ben Johnson got hired the day after they got eliminated, bro.
And Aaron Glenn got hired, a day or two after that.
Yeah.
So these guys were already out the door.
They did all those interviews before then?
Yeah. Well, Kingsbury, we know where Kingsbury is going to go, but
they did one interview and said, "Oh, we're going to take that job." Nah.
Yeah. Well, you think Kingsbury's? He's going to go to the Raiders probably most likely, but
he's going nowhere.
Yeah, I think. Well, he's going to be the Raiders head coach. There's no doubt about that. And I think Gene agrees too.
Well, he'll be gone a year or two from there too.
Maybe.
I agree. He'll be the Raiders head coach, but the Raiders constantly make bad decisions. But I will say this, right? For one of the guys that got hired, Aaron Glenn, versus Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury put on a masterclass and absolutely abused that Detroit Lions defense. That game plan in that football game for Washington was a lot better offensively than what Aaron Glenn's defense was. And even at halftime, I think it was Tom Brady on the call. I believe it was Fox had the game. Said Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't, they keep blitzing. And I wouldn't keep blitzing. Jaden Daniels is destroying the blitz. And then after they come out from the break, you think Detroit's got this chance. And I'll never forget it, right? They score a touchdown and it looks like they're back in the game. And then bang, touchdown off the blitz. I just don't understand what Aaron Glenn was thinking. Did he think that he just couldn't get home to stop the run with just his front six? Because he blitzed all football game. And it was that bubble screen to Terry McLaurin was one of the I would have called a timeout from the booth. How did you not see what was coming? I'm screaming it.
Yeah. That what was also crazy to me is that they seemed to go away from Jahmyr Gibbs on the offensive side, and he was gashing them.
But that's because you get down, you've got to throw the ball because you got to pick up good chunk yards without a lot of time.
He was picking up chunk yards on catch. He's 6 for 70 and 112 yards for
without
rushing.
A lot of time.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
you glazed over that piece.
What about? So you think a good play would have been, having Jamison Williams throw the ball when you're down 10 points? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I'd rather give it to Jahmyr Gibbs and do that.
The individual plays are what they are. Dumb stuff happens. We do dumb stuff every week.
Yeah, no,
but
I get
the philosophy that makes sense is we're down by a lot of points. Yeah, we got a guy who moves the ball running, but we need to get the ball in the air and try to make some big plays. Get some PIs, make big plays.
Jamison Williams making the decision to throw that football was stupid. But everyone is criticizing the Jamison Williams play, and I get it. The game was over at that point. That was the nail in the coffin. But no one wants to talk about the trick play that they ran with Jamison Williams for the 61-yard touchdown. It's always criticized when it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had a receiver throwing a ball in that situation.
Of course you wouldn't. You've been very critical of Dan Campbell forever. And
that's not Dan. That's Ben, right?
One reason
is that Ben?
Hang on that. Yeah, it's Ben Johnson.
No, it's not to hang on a take. You can curb that and trash can it, buddy. That's not what it's for. Ben Johnson, I have a lot of questions about how he called that game in the second half. I don't think he called a good game.
So you got to remember, this is Detroit. Detroit had the good year last year, kind of surprised everybody with how far they got. This looks more like the Detroit team we normally see.
Jared Goff having 4 turnovers called the game the way it was.
I mean, that was tough too. That was tough too.
That's the situation, right? The interception he threw, which Frankie Louvu took a shot at him, that was a terrible play by Jared Goff. The underthrown ball in the end zone that got undercut right before the half, that was a terrible throw by Jared Goff. Like the fumble that Jared Goff had in the first half, that was a terrible play by Jared Goff. Like we could talk about the way the game was called. They scored 31 points with 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I like Brett's comment about Glenn played most of the year with the second highest list behind the Vikings. Both those teams have something in common. The secondary is not that good on those teams, right? So, yeah, you got to have to get home. That will not happen with the Eagles. The secondary is much better than both those team secondaries. So there will not be a need to blitz because we don't want to give you time to pass. That's not going to happen. And that's what I've been telling people about Jaden Daniels all week is this is a different type of defense that he's going to have to face. And, that's not the Fangio style defense. It's not that, and listen, there's some things I don't like about Fangio's defense, but once you do get to the red zone, that's a problem. The thing about the X factor of Jaden Daniels, I got to give him credit, is in the red zone, he could be a problem. And he could, the kid's an athlete. He can make plays, man. There's a reason why he's gotten this far as well. You got to give him credit. And, Kingsbury, man, I think he's done wonders with him from looking at game 1 and 2 all the way through the rest of the season. And I've never been a Cliff Kingsbury fan, but I got to give him credit where credit's due. I mean, watching him in one game after the first 2 games, it was almost like they were scared to let him pass. And I was like, why are they playing this kid like this? Then eventually he's gained confidence week after week. I think the guy that the Eagles faced in Philadelphia versus the guy they faced, even though there was extenuating circumstances in the last game they played in Washington, is a totally different quarterback.
Well, yeah, he had a rib injury when they faced him in Philadelphia. That was very obvious.
Yeah. But he also there was things where like he looked confused by the coverages he saw, right?
Or it might have been in pain from his ribs.
No, might have been pain too. I mean, maybe Frankie Louvu. I'm worried about the dirty players. Like I feel like when you're playing with house money, you have no problems throwing a goon in there and doing some dirty crap. And I just hate that kind of stuff.
Frankie Louvu is a dirty piece of shit.
Hey, man, my thing is, you're going to take shots at our quarterback. You've already said you're going to do that. We got defense. You got a mobile quarterback. So keep the same energy. Don't be over there whining and crying when your quarterback gets hit like a running back too. Because you just said that's okay.
But cool. This is what concerns me about that is Jalen Carter has a reputation. CJGJ has a reputation. Do they get punished for that if they're just responding more than normal because of their reputation? And that hurts the team more than it's going to hurt them.
If you're the coaching and you're saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, CJ, you can't do it. Jalen Carter, you can't do it. You get one of the guys that don't have a reputation and you let them do it.
I'll tell you the perfect guy to do it.
Matter of fact,
I'm curious who this is going to be. Who's the perfect guy to do this?
You rotate guys in. Moro Ojomo can tear him to pieces.
Bryce
Oren Burks.
Oren Burks can destroy him.
The hit he put up on the opening kick versus Green Bay, you let him put that hit on Jaden.
You know who they really should put at strong safety and let him do it for like 2 plays? Eli Ricks. Eli Ricks will try to break him in half.
Yeah. So I like that stat here. Brett is given Eagles blitz the fifth least in the league this year during regular season. So it will be a completely different game for the Commanders.
You knew that without seeing the stat, though, bro.
I knew that. I didn't know the exact ranking, but I knew. I knew that already. Yeah, listen, you talk to people. I was talking to a friend today, and then he saw a different stat that said they were higher blitz. I'm like, no, they're not. That's not what I saw when I watched the games. So
Eagles do not blitz. They're not a high blitzing team. Vic Fangio has never been a high blitzing team. They want to make you beat them with several plays, not 1 or 2. They're a team that stops X plays. When they played the Commanders the last time, they did not stop the X plays. Terry McLaurin had an X play. Zacchaeus had an X play down the sideline. You just can't allow big plays. You got to make them beat you down the field. And if you want to, and guys, when you break down this Eagles Commanders situation, let's say I give you quarterback and let's say I give you linebacker. There's not a position on the football field. The Washington Commanders are even close to being better than the Philadelphia Eagles outside of quarterback and linebacker. Not a position on the football field.
One hole I might be concerned about is the linebacker coverage hole. Do you think that Zach Ertz is going to pose a problem with Nakobe Dean not being there?
Zach Ertz will not be guarded by a linebacker.
So
the Philadelphia Eagles have made that very clear all year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been the guy on the tight end. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson will be guarding Zach Ertz. And for a nickel corner, a converted nickel corner to safety, I am not worried about that. And the only time Zach Ertz got off against the Eagles was in that last drive. You look at the game they played in Washington. He did not play very well in Washington. He didn't. And in the game in Philadelphia, he got off on that last drive when it was 26-10. He had a couple big plays. But he's not going to be running all over the field versus Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's not. You have a guy that can keep up with him and that can match the physicality.
So who do you think the leader receiver was for them last week?
De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, 98 yards. I don't see that happening against the Eagles. McLaurin, great receiver. I think he'll get his. Jalen Daniels had 16 carries. That's a lot of carries. At quarterback, 16 for 51.
It's like that, but he does that a lot. It's not 16, but like he's had 16 in a couple games prior to this. And he's had multiple games in double digits. Almost every game he's had more than 5. So he's going to run the football.
Yeah. It's an interesting matchup. I feel like this is going to be a spark of a brand new rivalry even more. It's going to reignite it. And I'm excited for it. What are the keys to the game here, guys? Let's make our score predictions.
Sure. I have a 31-20 Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia wins this football game in the trenches. I think their offensive and defensive line will win this game. It might be they might pull away. It might be a Saquon Barkley touchdown when it's 24-20 when the Eagles are trying to run the clock out, or it might just be 31-20. But I got the Eagles winning this game by double digits and 2 scores when it's all said and done.
Okay, so 31-20. All right. What about you, Cool?
So.
I'm gonna say, in my mind, I believe that the keys to victory are turnover battle. We have to win a turnover battle. We have to make sure that we are blocking and running the ball well, And we have to ensure that the guys that are coming in for guys that may be out or rotating in are prepared to play and play the level that we need in order to be successful. We need AJ Brown to make plays this game. I've never, I don't think ever made him my weakest link until yesterday. And the reason is the drop pass. We got to have those. If you're complaining about getting the ball, and we know you may not be saying anything publicly because you understand the pushback, but you're not in the locker room happy, getting 3-4 receptions for a few yards, even though you were targeted like 7 or 8 times. So he's got to convert. We've got to have the best that we can out of this man for us to be successful. The tight ends have to block and play. Somebody's got to figure out a way to inject some logic into the offensive play callers, because there may not be enough there. I mean, I adamantly believe a lot of it is Sirianni, but I can't sit here and say all of it's Sirianni. I think at least part of this is also Kellen Moore. You guys have to get together and figure out how to get the best out of your quarterback. I think you're doing a good job of where you having him throw the amount of times he's throwing. You also have to realize that you have other running backs on the bench. I forgot Kenneth Gainwell was on a team. That's a problem. I should not be forgetting that Kenneth Gainwell's on the team. That's a problem. Do better. But as far as the score, I'm going to go 31 to 24.
31-24. Okay. I feel like AJ Brown is going to have himself a game against the Commanders. I feel like he always has a game against the Commanders. I'm looking at the first game. It wasn't a great game. 5 for 65. I think he had a better game on the second game. I think he's going to catch some balls. I don't think we're going to be dealing with the snow like we were dealing with before. I think that we're going to see more of the passing game that people really expect, with the running game still being present. I think you're going to see a lot more Dallas Goedert. I think you're going to see a lot more Devontae Smith. And I think that their defense can be had. I feel this way because this is what was going on before Jalen got hurt toward the end of the season. He was throwing the ball there too. So, then Kenny Pickett's throwing the ball. And then, it's definitely something where I'm confident I'm going to give the Eagles, it's going to be like 35-17 Eagles. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think they're going to pull away and they're going to come out with their heads on fire. And we're going to be seeing, I keep forgetting his name. Kid Gilly. Is that how you say his name?
Wow. Doug just posted the same time you said it.
Yeah. Kid Gilly. How do you say his name?
Gilly the Kid, bro.
Gilly the Kid. Yeah. We're going to see him dancing out front. Yeah. He'll be blowing the whistle because I'm going to see Saquon gets 130 yards. Jalen's got a couple touchdown passes. AJ Brown's going to get off. The defense is going to get ahead. I think they come out swinging. I know it seems like anti what we've been used to seeing, but I just think this is the time. They're jazzed because they're getting a home game they didn't expect. We didn't expect. No one expected it. And I think if you play discipline against Jaden Daniels and you make them have to be methodical and going down the field and not giving up a big play like a bubble screen to Terry McLaurin or things of that nature, it's going to be hard for them to keep pace with the Eagles. I do not think their defense is that good. They play a little dirty. They play spirited. Dan Quinn's a good coordinator. He's getting the most out of that squad. I don't see them being able to pace them. And then when my X factor is that guard being out with Jalen Carter playing the way he is, that's going to cause problems for him. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how mobile you are. If there's pressure coming up the middle, it ruins any game plan ever. It's the antidote. It doesn't matter how good your team is. No pressure up the middle, you're done. So 35-17 Eagles, and they're on to the Super Bowl. The question is, who do you want them to play? It's the last question. Who, if they win, would you prefer the Chiefs to go and have the rematch, or would you want them to face the Bills and beat Josh Allen?
Buffalo. I want them to play Buffalo. I want to play Buffalo because I can't stomach the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think it's a better matchup for the Eagles. I think the Eagles rip through Buffalo. I believe we can man-to-man their wide receivers. I believe they can control the box, control the run, and I don't think Buffalo has the dogs to be able to stop us from running the football down their throats. When I looked at that Baltimore Ravens game versus Buffalo in that second half, they just came out and ran the football and absolutely shredded that Buffalo Bills defense. I think that the Eagles would run through Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm with Buffalo as well. I don't want to face a Steve Spagnuolo defense, personally. So that's where I'm at with that, and I think Buffalo is a better matchup for the Eagles. What do you think, Cole?
I truthfully don't give a smurf, but if I have to pick one, I'd lean lightly toward Buffalo because I think the referee won't play into it as much if we have Buffalo. So that would be the reason I would say Buffalo, but I really don't care who it is because the whole goal is get there and win.
Yeah, that brings up something that a lot of NFL fans have been voicing, and the whole, I watched that Eagles Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, and that fucking excruciating call at the end. And the one thing I noticed the most,
I'll never forget you telling me after that football game it was a good call. I'll never forget it.
I didn't say it was a good call. I said that's not the reason why they lost. That's not why they lost.
It's 100% the reason they lost.
I go with the spotting of a hands-free touchdown off of a fumble. That 7-point spot that killed us. And
bro, if they kick that field goal,
Kadarius Toney returning a punt.
You give Jalen Hurts the ball with 2 minutes left, down 3 points, and they kick that field goal like they would have, and the Eagles get the ball with 3. The way Jalen Hurts was playing that football game, the way the Eagles offense was moving that football game, you give the Philadelphia Eagles the ball with 2 minutes left, down 3, they're winning that football game, bro. No one can tell me different.
As a fan, I would love to say that, but
bro, did you watch the game?
Yeah, but
they weren't stopping him.
This is what I noticed. When you see that play, you see this guy pointing like this, right? And that's Patrick Mahomes, always pointing for the call. As good as he is, it's getting annoying. Pointing for the call, and then the refs are like, "Oh, he saw pass interference. I didn't see it. Let me throw it. Let's throw it."
Can I give you a quick counterfeit? Green?
That goes on to what I've been saying. This is the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs. I've never heard that, but that's all right. The Chiefs. I don't think it's rigged. I just think he's getting those calls. Like, Jordan used to get calls back in the day, and it just blows my mind that
this guy, LeBron, like calls like this guy.
Yeah.
Can I give you a quick counter for Green before we wrap up?
Shoot. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
It's fine. It's Chris Sims. I am so sick of listening to that man. You talking about a quarterback that couldn't make it in the NFL, that's getting on TV talking about A, B, C, D in the NFL.
Because of who his dad is?
I just can't take it. I can't take it. Did you see the comments that he made where with Lamar Jackson's fault that Mark Andrews dropped the ball? He didn't throw it on time. Are you out of your friggin' mind?
It was in Mark Andrews' hands. It was
hit him right in between the 8 and the 9. I don't understand how this
can't blame Lamar
get on
that.
TV and still talk sports. He is the absolute worst, and I just needed to take my minute to give.
I don't call him Chris Sims, actually. I call him the son of Phil Sims.
Oh, and to add on, Tom Brady could – thank you so much for bringing that up, Key, because Tom Brady can be my counterfeit Green too, because that moron is on TV talking about the game is too soft and they're not letting the defenders play. Do you know why the game is too soft? Do you know why
you
the
piece of
defense
trash?
Not allowed to play? It's because of you.
Some nerve. You are a jerk face idiot. You get up there and say anything. Well, you're the reason that everything nobody can be touched unless you are. And I'm gonna say it on here. I don't care unless you're a black quarterback or Josh Allen because they treat him like a black quarterback.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he definitely was the inspiration. That is sure. I agree 100%.
Game's so soft. Why, Tom? Why?
Because of you, Thomas.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't even hear that Lamar Jackson comment by Sims. I mean, I can't stand a sportscaster that just says something just to get controversy. I mean, you can't really believe that, right? Like,
if you were okay in your career, then okay, but when you suck, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew should have caught that. There's no doubt about it. Lamar did what he had to do.
And we'll talk about that's a perfect segue. We got Sideline on the Sideline coming up in just 15 minutes. So make sure you tune in. We're going to get wild.
Woo!
Finish this off, Godfrey.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully next week, I don't want to jinx us, but you heard our scores. We are having, let's say if they do make it next week, we will be doing a show in 2 weeks, right?
My counterfeit Green is the Commanders.
Okay. I love it.
So we'd be doing a show in 2 weeks, I would think, right, Gene? We take off next week and do this.
I'll do both. I don't give a shit. We'll wrap up the one show and then we'll do a Super Bowl preview. I don't care.
So listen, stay tuned to the page. We'll let you guys know. But this is Z Godfrey, Cool McCain, and the NFL Genius. Not saying goodbye, just saying take it birds deep.